Hey kids, it's Old Man shouting at clouds, and now with others too. Chatting about the CFL is what they're going to do. Some have no contacts and others have no clues. Everyone will tell us all their quirky football views. Hear what Old Man and others know. It's the CFL Outsiders Show.
Hey GT, what are we going to do this week?
Same thing we do every week, old man. Take over the CFL.
He's 9.
And rich, apparently. Hey kids, welcome back to another episode of the CFL Outsiders. I remain, as always, your 100% impartial, completely unbiased, and just joyful today host, Old Man Shouting at Clouds. Joining me this week, back from the wilderness, is GT.
Hey everyone, how you doing? And I remain your somewhat unbiased and somewhat partial, but completely disorganized and unprepared co-host for this week. So, to misquote Old Man.
Yes, there we go. And MJ.
Hey everyone, I hope you are having a better sportsing time than me. I barely survived Blue Jays trade deadline. My team got beat and I'm wearing a Montreal Alouettes shirt, so...
Yes. But I've got to say, though, with GT as a late scratch last week, you did a fantastic job of stepping up and carrying the show. So that is great. We'll have a more balanced approach today, and hopefully it all works well.
Well, I was going to add that last week's show was perhaps the best I've ever heard of the show. And as some guy said, you don't need that GT guy. He's a bum. So, and then I realized that was me. So,
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know. Someone needed to carry that Stampeder torch a little more, though.
Yeah, that's it. It's flickering, but it's still there.
You're sounding a little bit like Groucho Marx there. I would never be a member of any club that would stoop so low as to have me.
That's right.
All right. Well, I'm starting with a rant. Are you ready to rant? Because I got annoyed this weekend, and I've had a few people on social media tell me to cool down. It doesn't matter, but this really, really got under my skin, and it's a minor thing. In the end, didn't affect the game, but in the Ottawa-Montreal game, Ottawa's down inside the 5 as they were 90% of the time without getting a touchdown. They run a basically just a running play to Adebayo. He gets stopped and the ball gets stripped out and Montreal recovers. Okay, great. Then the control center jumps in and no, we've got to review this. And why is it always at Ottawa? It was at Ottawa that like 2 years ago with Saskatchewan that the game was over, but the control center, no, everybody come back. In this case, you've got a play that's been called. It's a judgment call of when that player is stopped. If somebody challenges it, then maybe you can bring the control center in and say, okay, yes, he was moving backwards. That shouldn't have been a fumble. But for the control center itself to jump in on a judgment call is just ridiculous. There's a reason we have human officials down there. And frankly, you got to look at the other side of that question. What if Adebayo had somehow spun out of that contact after stepping back a step and a half and spun around and got himself in the end zone? Would there be anything from the control center there going, oh, no, he was stopped. His forward progress was stopped? No, frankly, it's just BS. The control center has got to keep their noses out, keep it in their pants, unless there's something egregious that they should be in on. Okay, I got that out of my system. We can move on to other things. Any comments, or are you just going to sit and shake your head?
No, I'm curious because I have forgotten. Is it not every turnover is automatically reviewed? Yeah. And therefore that would have been automatically reviewed, whereas your point that if he had been stopped and then just turned around and went into the end zone, it would have also been automatically reviewed because every TD is reviewed. So while yes, I agree with you in principle on the rant, on the whole idea of stop interfering, I think that's just a rule that they review every turnover.
Yes, and it is. And I would, sorry, Ed, I am still passionate about this. I would agree with you if the review had said, "Oh, the whistle sounded before the ball was stripped." On the field, it was ruled that his progress was stopped. It wasn't. So there's no reason for that review to be able to say there was no chance for that play to go on. Like I said, if he had broken free and got in, there wouldn't have been reviewing that. It's the point of trusting the judgment of the on-field officials. Okay, no more rebuttals. I'm done. I'm off my. Yes.
All right, we're back. Here we go.
Yes. And now that we're back to this, we've been.
It's starting off as a great week. Let's get this thing on the road. Let's go.
Yes. Yeah. Well, it's a slow start. It's your traditional Bomber game. It's a slow start, but we'll pick it up. We'll get it rolling. We've also been had played for a part of the season here a game that GT came up with called Lyrical, Eloquence, and we've got some good results. And we'll probably keep dropping these things in there, and if anybody guesses it, we'll report on it. But other than that, we're maybe not so much. GT, you were going to talk a little bit about this as it was your idea.
Well, in every playbook, there's that play that you pull out when you want it to work, and then you just realize, maybe not. So that's what we've done with Lyrical Eloquence. We're going to take that out of the playbook and never to be seen again, unless, of course, we need it absolutely in the playoffs. And then it will come back to haunt us, and someone will be misquoted again. But nonetheless, I did want to just say before we do end Lyrical Eloquence off that unfortunately I was not here last week because the week previously, I believe I had Old Man's Lyric, but I'm not 100% sure. So I will ask you if you had it. What did I have for you last week? Yours was Another Ride Around the Sun, or something along that lines, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure. Hold on, I have it. It was that was 2 weeks ago. Forget about it. Anyways, I thought I had yours, but mine and because you mentioned Sun, I was able to sneak a second one in that I wasn't going to use, but it allowed me also to bring up my two favorite all-time singer-songwriters, and I thought in one show, and I thought that was kind of fun. So it's a good way to end it. And of course, mine was The Sun's Not Yellow, It's Chicken, which is, Tombstone Blues by Bob Dylan from 1965, maybe the most important album of all time in Highway 61 Revisited. So that's just, close to my heart and dear to my heart. But even more so, because we were talking about kickers and because everybody was missing kicks that week, I also said, you don't have to have a point to make a point if you get the point, which of course is from Harry Nilsson, The Point. And I would highly recommend anyone with children that has not watched Harry Nilsson, The Point as a half-hour show, YouTube it, watch it. It may be one of the most important things you could ever have your child watch. It is tremendous, simply tremendous. So I will leave that on that. And Harry Nilsson was a gem, an absolute gem. And again, close to my heart. So that's the two that will send Lyrical Eloquence off with a bang, so to speak, and then maybe, just maybe, we'll drag one out later. And that's that.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah, sometimes we're a football podcast, sometimes we're a rock and roll podcast, sometimes who knows, whatever. It could be anything. And you gave me too much credit there. I didn't actually know that I was sneaking something in. My line there at the opening about exhausted from another trip around the sun was my obscure way of saying I just got past my birthdays. But I may end up. This started when I threw in a line that was a quote from a song, but it wasn't intended that way. It was just part of what we do. So if you spot us doing anything, please still send in a comment and let us know about any lyrics. And sometimes you'll catch us without knowing, like GT did just there with me. Anything from you on it, MJ, before we move on?
Well, I am glad I ended Lyrical Eloquence with an Arkells lyrics that my kid clocked right away. You never know when a Taylor Swift lyric will just...
Yes.
There you go.
Some things are inevitable. And speaking of inevitable, teams that are having a bad time have to find themselves a scapegoat or two or three. And Ottawa this week, after going 0-7, still confident to be the first team ever to go 0-7 and make the playoffs and win the Grey Cup. But, that's full credit to them for that. They decided their problem is their defense, not an offense that can get to the 5-yard line and stall continuously, but their defense. So they fired whatever, their defensive coordinator, William Fields, and took the special teams coordinator, Jeff Reinbold, and made him the defensive coordinator. What do you figure? Is that going to make for a better red-black team?
I don't know. I mean, I was a big Fields supporter when he got the job. I thought he was a really good coach when he was co-coordinator in Toronto. And I thought him and Dinwiddie had a relationship from those days. So I thought it was going to work. And but as you said, they needed a scapegoat. Their defense has not been great. It was really bad again the other night. And so surprise, no, there's no surprise. It's going to happen. Somebody's going to happen.
Ryan said in his press conference today that he had given Will Fields some suggestions or told him to do things, and those things were not done. But I was like, okay, they're looking for blood. They're at 0-7. You got to fire someone. Someone's head's on the chopping block. It's not going to be Ryan, who is head coach and offensive coordinator and general manager, and it's not going to be Jeffrey Reinbold. I don't think you're firing him. So what? I mean, Fields is kind of just the scapegoat here, right? Like whether he deserved to be fired or not is kind of immaterial. It doesn't really matter. Maybe they should look at firing Sean Burke for hiring all these people, or hiring Ryan.
Yes, and not doing a lot to replace any of the defensive backfield, which wasn't good last year, and surprise, surprise, isn't good this year.
Please direct all your complaints to the CFL as they have implemented the coach's cap. And now teams find themselves in these situations, and bad teams cannot dig themselves out of these situations.
Even if you can find a way to afford it, you can't afford it. Yes.
No.
Trust me. Oh, yeah. I personally, I think that their defense could be better, but it was not the biggest problem on the team. And frankly, if there was one part of the team that looked brighter than anything else, it was the special teams. So to take your special teams coordinator and make him a defensive coordinator, and I don't know.
How is Reinbold at defensive coordinating? Does he have a lot of experience?
Yeah, he's done it. He's done it in the past. I don't remember it being terrific because I seem to remember he was a defensive coordinator in Hamilton at one point before he got fired and then came back as the special teams coordinator. So I think that was the case. I may be mistaken. He's bounced around. In Montreal, I think he was only special teams, but he might have been DC there for on and off too. He's bounced around in and out of so many different teams over different years. It's hard to remember which position he's had. It's primarily been special teams for sure, though.
Yeah.
For sure.
I saw that he was once head coach of the Blue Bombers and their general manager.
That is correct. Those are the dark days of Winnipeg that no one likes to talk about in the Flatland.
Yes, there's a reason that not many people know that.
He's been like coaching almost like as long as I've been alive. So I don't know. Maybe some osmosis has happened.
Moving on to other stuff from the weekend here. MJ, you were mentioning that the TSN AI slop of Tyson Philpot this weekend was not impressive.
Well, okay, this is enough, right? Like this has to stop. They do these little videos. I mean, if you live under a rock or you fast forward through everything, AI, like TSN likes to do these little AI videos of players. And it used to be just a little bit last year, and this year they're doing like full, like feature length. Video. Anyway, on Friday, they put Tyson Philpot up, and he was white.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I do fast forward through them or turn them out because I hate that crap. But
yeah, so that's enough. That's enough. This is whitewashing players. If you want to complain, as I have complained, and demand they apologize, you can email audiencerelations@tsn.ca to complain about this, because this is just, it's not right. It's not right. It's too far. We're done.
Yeah.
No, I got to agree. It shouldn't make your blood boil just watching football. At least only for reasons that are football related. But this other stuff,
I want to be upset about play on the field, not this stuff.
I just think it's shoddy production, AI is a computer, and AI will only spit out what parameters you put in. So they didn't put in the parameters. So it just spit out a white guy. And because somebody in that when they were doing this, keying away, make him do this, make him do that, which is what they did. The computer just spit it out and nobody looked at it, and it just laziness and bad production. It's just laziness. Again, it's sheer laziness from your TSN, your primary partner, that didn't sit down and just go, oh, let's have someone with a sense of reality edit it and go, oh, wait, there's something wrong here. And and add another click to your whatever, to your parameters, and it would have been fine. No, I mean, it wouldn't have been fine because those things are horrible to begin with. And that one was one of the worst I've ever seen.
Yes.
So it was really bad, but then you could have at least made it just being horrible rather than being horrible.
The Stampeders released a video today of their players trying to they gave them a bag of milk because they're in Ontario this week. And they had a video of the players trying to pour milk out of this bag. And I would have much rather watched that than these AI videos.
I agree. I am serious when I say that stuff comes on and either I tune out and use the chance to check something else that's going on at the moment, or I just fast forward through. It is such a lazy, cheap way to try and do entertainment. But apparently we're all in a bit of a mood tonight, so I'm going to try and move on and not make this too negative a podcast. On the upside in Tyson Philpot news, Tyson got to 1,000 yards in 8 games this weekend. Third player in CFL history to do that. About once every third of a century. Hal Peterson in, what do I have here? Hal Peterson in 56 and Terry Greer in 1983. How amazing is Philpot playing this year?
It's like lights out.
Yeah,
it's
incredible.
Been a lot of fun to watch.
Like at this point in time, there's not even anyone close to winning outstanding player besides him. Yeah. And if Davis, as well as Davis Alexander is playing, he's not even going to get the nomination for Montreal. He can't. Philpot's got to get both. You can't just give Philpot Canadian only. That's crazy.
Oh, no.
So if he
face up and Rourke gets nominated and wins, we all riot, right?
Absolutely.
Exactly.
That's crazy that you could have the literally the best quarterback in the league not even get the team nomination because Philpot's doing so well. Yeah. So incredible.
No, knock on wood. The only thing that could stop him at this point is an injury, and I do hope we don't see that because he'll set the record for most yards in a season otherwise. And frankly, I agree with you. And the only person that I think that has a chance of being close is depending what happens with Edmonton and Rankin for the rest of the year. Edmonton's gone through a gauntlet of teams that are very good against the run, and they're through that now. And you're going to start seeing Rankin pick up some more yardage again. So if he has a big second half of the season and gets to, say, somehow he still manages to get to 1,000 and 1,000, he might challenge Philpot. But I could easily see it'd be the rare year where we don't have a quarterback in the MOP race. Not the final two, anyway.
Yeah.
I'll just close this on saying, I know there's a whole bunch that goes into all this, and everything that you do, all the work it takes and everything, Tyson, thank you, because it is just amazing watching you play. You make this league a lot better, and we appreciate it.
And I would just before we jump off the subject quickly, because you mentioned that, because how much we do appreciate watching them play, I just appreciate both of those guys, how much fun they have playing, and how much fun they're having fun from the time they catch the ball, to when they're smiling all the time. They never stop smiling. Even when they're giving somebody grief and talking trash, they're smiling. They're having fun all the time. And that's just so much more fun for us to watch. So, that's great. I just want to say that.
And they're the kind of players that will take time after the game to get some pictures with, say, a mother and son who we have
in the photographic
evidence of. So
that's
true of both of them. I said Tyson, but also to Justin Rankin. Great stuff. It is amazing. The attendance this week was extremely good again. They averaged just over 25,000. Ottawa was the low, and even they got almost 17 and change, which is not bad for Ottawa. The high was Edmonton at 31-757, a little bit better than Winnipeg even. Now, mind you, that was a Riders game, so
Upper
I don't
Deck
know that
was
you'll see
open.
that. Yeah, I don't know you'll see that every game in Edmonton, but I think over 25 is a reasonable expectation going forward. So we'll see. Yeah, Hamilton was 20. BC was, again, just a couple of hundred below Edmonton, so a great week. And we also saw some big signings and player transactions, as it were. Along with Fields being fired, Eugene Lewis was let go in Ottawa. Let's talk him first before I mention anything else. Was that a good move by them? Can he make another team better somewhere? Any thoughts on landing spots? I'm really curious because this was a shocker to me.
Yeah, I think he can make another team better if he wants to. That's the main point. I don't know. First of all, he's not going to get the money he's used to been getting. So he's going to have to take a major ego check in the bank book. He's going to have to realize he is going to be the third guy on just about any team he goes to, because I don't see a lot of teams with receiver need. The weirdest part is the team that I think could use him the most is Edmonton, but he's not going there. Like, I don't know what other team, that can use him beyond a number 3 position. So, I mean, maybe BC. I think BC could use him, and I think that would be a good signing, and it would help BC. But does he want to go to a team that might not even make the playoffs again? And is he willing to take a substantial pay cut to be the third receiver on a team going forward? Because that's probably what he's going to be at this stage.
Yeah, what a bad week for Lewis, right? Ed Hervey gets on the panel and basically spills the tea that he was unscrewing like Lewis's nameplate out of the locker room. Like, exactly who he was talking about.
Yeah.
Super awkward. Then he gets released. He had that offensive pass interference call on him. And then the next day he's cut. I hope he picked up his fish and his plant from the locker room. I feel too bad because he was in Montreal before Alexander got there and it was garbage. And he was in Edmonton before Cody got there and it was garbage. And now he's out in Ottawa too. And I'm just like, this guy is such a good receiver. He cannot be on a winning team. Maybe he's the bad vibe. I don't know. He's not. No. But who needs him? I don't know. Saskatchewan, like Emilus and Schaefer Baker are injured. What's going on in BC? I don't know. Depends. I don't see anyone else needing a receiver. And I think, you know what? He's getting a bad reputation. And if Ryan and Ed are going down spouting things around, who's taking a risk on him unless they really, really need him down the stretch?
Yeah, I don't see Saskatchewan as a landing spot just because those are both Canadians that are out and they're fairly dependent on Canadians at that position for their ratio. So maybe not. I wonder about Winnipeg. I think that they could maybe benefit a bit if he's utilized properly. I honestly don't know if it's the play calling hasn't been making use of his talents the way it should, because his targets feel to me like they've been down. But as far as actual performance go, I feel kind of like he's been riding on reputation since he left Montreal. It was underperformance in Edmonton. He moved on to Ottawa. It's been underperformance there. And again, might not be his fault. It's hard to tell with how the games on TV are shot. But is he still worth a good receiver number? Or is he now a number 3 or 4 who's approaching the end of his career? And if he's got leadership experience, maybe that he brings that to a team.
Yeah, the thing about Winnipeg, though, is he was with Condell for 2 years in Ottawa and wasn't used properly then. No. So I'm not sure that Condell would use him properly in Winnipeg either. And at this point in time, we don't even know who's thrown the ball to him in Winnipeg anymore. So there's that as well. I don't know. I agree with you. In Edmonton, it was a bad situation. Montreal, though, he was, even when they were bad, he was the bright spot. He was the good thing. Those Genus Lewis down the sideline pass, they were money, and you knew it was going to happen. And it was just, he was, 1,000, 1,200 yards every single year and was making great plays. So when he signed in Edmonton, and he was with Taylor Cornelius, come on, it was bad. So I hardly blame him. And Edmonton was, the proverbial dumpster there when he was there. So the whole offense. So I can't really blame him. But I think that has impacted on his play. And I do believe it looks like he's not the guy he was in Montreal when every play down the sideline was available to him, and he was making every catch from whatever quarterback they were using in those days. And they were using a lot of them. So I think he's still serviceable. I mean, look at 2 years ago, we were all, or at least not we, but I had given up on Alexander Hollins, and now he's still contributing as that third guy in Montreal, and he's still a guy that can work. And he's not making the money he wanted or he was making in BC off of that couple years he had there. So, I mean, Gino could still come back and do that, but is he prepared to make that kind of a sacrifice and put his head in that kind of a space and then go do the job?
Full credit to him in Montreal. I'll give you that. Like I said, I thought since Montreal, maybe he's riding the reputation, but that reputation was fully earned in his time in Montreal.
Well, but who's throwing to him at Edmonton and Ottawa? Nobody throwing deep.
He was with quarterbacks who couldn't get the ball to receivers, and for some reason he wasn't being targeted as well. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he gets picked up and goes with a team that actually uses him in the scheme. I think personally what we'll see is he probably won't sign here for a little bit, but at some point between now and the end of the season, somebody's going to lose a top receiver, and Gino might get himself a reasonable payday out of that.
Not with Edmonton.
All right. Also released with him was Shakir Brown from, not with Edmonton. No, some things are a given.
Ed will do anything but.
Although in this league, you never know.
Ed may have mailed him that nameplate for all we know.
Yeah. Yeah. And hey, in this league, it wouldn't surprise me if tomorrow we see Ed and Gino hugging at a press conference announcing a signing, because you just never know.
No, you know what? You could quite possibly. You are correct.
You never know. Never say never, I guess.
Exactly. I mean, in that same article where you were talking about that he was trashing not Lewis, but unnamed players that were obviously Lewis, he was also talking about how character is the number one thing in this team, that it goes before talent, it goes before everything else, and we are building a character-driven culture in the locker room, and we will not bring in bad actors. 2 weeks after they put Isaiah Adams on their negotiation list, the same day he was charged with firearm offenses. So never say never. I mean, they took him off the negotiation list again, but still. Anyway,
he reported to training camp. He reported to training camp. That's why he's off the negotiation list. They would have left him on there.
He didn't get released over this. I guess we don't need him on the list. Anyway, they also released Shakir Brown out of the defensive backfield, who started all the games this year. And other than not being a receiver, he seemed like he was a reasonable DB to me. He couldn't catch, and there were a couple of interceptions he should have had. But there was that one, and then so we'll see what happens as they continue to shuffle players back there. And then the other transaction was the Hamilton Tiger Cats traded Chris Kolinkowski to the Toronto Argonauts for, I believe, a 6th-round draft pick in 2027. So another experienced lineman going to the Argos. They've been struggling a bit there.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting, only because I don't think he's been starting in Hamilton.
He started one game.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So he's kind of fallen off from the days in Winnipeg. And I don't know what position he's going to play in Toronto, because they've been moving their guys, especially their Canadians, back and forth from between center and tackle, or center and guard, and a little bit of tackle, but mostly center and guard. And so and they've released some other guys that we were surprised they released, Canadians. So not sure what Toronto's doing with their offensive line at this point in time. It will be interesting over the next few weeks.
I'm not sure Toronto knows either, but the speculation I've heard is they'll put him at center, but who knows? Yeah,
but that's Nicastro right now, is it not?
I'm not certain on this, but from what I had heard, Nicastro's hurt, and they've got a rookie they were starting there.
Okay,
I'd have to look at the last depth charts to find out.
That might be why. So there you go. Again, as I said off the top, I am unprepared. So I will make everything will be with me.
Yes, and keep in mind that anything that comes out of my memory has like a 50% correct rate anyway, so it could just be something that wandered in from the fog and wasn't true. What else? Oh, Hall of Fame announcements. Jim Evanson, running back with BC and Ottawa from 68 to 73. I can remember him, but not a whole lot. I understand he's well worthy of the Hall of Fame induction. Have you any memories of him, GT, or?
No, that was prior even to my time watching football, and I don't have any stories from.
I'm the same. I would have been 10 when he started playing, and we had one game a week on CBC. So I remember knowing the name and knowing he was a good player, but that's about it. And then the other one goes even further back. Frank Pop Ivy, head coach of Edmonton from 54 to 57. And being as I wasn't even alive then, I have no memories of it. I doubt any of us do. But I'm, again, apparently very successful, over 10 wins in every season he was with them.
Yep.
Did quite well with the teams.
Obviously, I do know how good that team was at those times, just from the record and from the Grey Cup appearances in those days. A guy that coached them through all of those years has got to be a pretty good coach. So going in as a coach, that makes sense.
I trust the history. I don't have to have seen it. And MJ, when I put the show rundown out, you came back with, we hadn't talked about Calvin Tiggle, and I didn't even realize he'd been announced at all. Do you have anything more on that, or?
Oh, well, he played for the Ticats, but he was part of the Grey Cup team. He played there 96, 99.
Do you know when they announced him as the?
It was a couple weeks ago. It was a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
I think they have everyone now. I think.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I remember seeing that, and no offense to these guys, because they're obviously, if they're going into the Hall of Fame, they were tremendous players. And I remember watching Calvin Tiggle, and I remember thinking that's a really good linebacker. But I don't ever remember thinking that's an all-star, or maybe an all-star, but a Hall of Fame linebacker. I don't know. Sometimes those are the ones that I go, okay. And then you look at their stats and you go, yeah, no, I get it. But wow, there's like that. Better than I remember him playing. So then I kind of go, okay, that makes more sense. I get it. And it's probably that case. He was also of the era of the great linebacker shoulder pad. So that's another thing.
Yeah.
You probably didn't recognize him out of uniform.
Yes. Yeah, yes. When your shoulder pads could cover from tackle to tackle.
Yeah.
Apologies to Calvin that we didn't catch it when it was initially announced, but you're right. There's some of the players that are like that even if they didn't necessarily stand out from the little bit that I remembered, once you start looking at what they did, it's pretty amazing. And if they're going in, there's a reason. So congratulations to all of them. Absolutely. What else? We'll switch to our basketball podcast format for a minute, because you mentioned MJ news out of the Sea Bears from Winnipeg.
Yeah, well, as we know, we are a Sea Bears podcast, secondly. Just quickly, because this is pretty big news out of Winnipeg. It's CBL playoffs on Thursday night, all their semifinal players, and the Sea Bears star player, their top scorer, was assaulted at a nightclub a couple nights ago by the security, and he was actually in the hospital, and he can't play on Thursday for the Sea Bears. So, but this is like if VA or Philpot or Brady got like into an altercation at a bar and ended up in the hospital, that's the level of this. So hopefully they can pull it out. They have to play Saskatchewan.
He is a definite bona fide star in that league, from what I've seen.
Yes.
It's one of those things. It's unfortunate as hell. I don't know what to think when I see stuff like this. The reporting I saw said that the team was saying he was assaulted by security staff at a nightclub. I haven't seen anything to contradict that. However, I honestly don't know anything about the team, the player, anything like that. And when I posted on about the assault fellow, I think Grumpy Old Man or Old Grumpy Man was it at a.social, whatever, posted an article from 24 on how the Sea Bears had released him at that point because his behavior was detrimental to team morale.
Well, remember we gossiped about this earlier, about how he and the head coach last year did, like the couple of years, did not get along.
Right, you did talk about this.
Yes. Always something going on in Winnipeg. I mean, and also there was like a fight. Drake was at the Shooting Stars game, and there was a fight between the Shooting Stars and the Honey Badgers. That. Anyway, so concludes my CBL report. Go watch playoffs on Thursday.
Yes. Well, I think that it's best just to wait and see what else comes out before we talk too much about this, because
Anyway, they have
it
Xavier
seems like
Moon. It's not a total loss, guys. You'll be okay.
Xavier Moon. What a great name for a basketball player.
He used to play for the Clippers
And the Raptors.
and the Raptors. Did he play for the Raptors?
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
I think he was the first Raptor to come back to the CEBL after, and he played in Scarborough, if I remember correctly. That kind of kicked off the Shooting Stars ride, if I
'Cause he
remember
used to-
correctly.
No, that's someone because like Xavier Moon used to play for the Stingers, and then he went to the Clippers. You are correct. There is another Raptor who is playing on the Shooting Stars. I know. So J. Cole used to play for the Shooting Stars as well before he went off on like music tour.
Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry, I tuned out for a moment there. Okay, anyway. So far about this point in the podcast, we've been talking about our fantasy results, but then last week MJ brought up a point of sort of just how everywhere the gambling advertising and stuff goes and how that fantasy can kind of feed into that. So I've decided in honor of that, I'm not going to talk fantasy on here anymore. If you really care about it, I do. Old Man plays weekly CFL fantasy. It drops the afternoon of the first game of the week. You can come on over there and get my picks and my strategies, but I think we'll drop it from this portion of the show. Other than to say, and one last thing, earlier this year, I think the second week of the season, I lost by 0.3 points, which was highly disappointing. This week I won by 0.3 points, so the football gods threw a makeup flag for me. Anything else, come back on Thursday and we'll talk about it then.
The only thing I would add is after listening to last week's show all the way through, of course, I did appreciate your point of view there, MJ. And I noticed as well that this year, since I wasn't doing fantasy, again, I was back to vibe watching football rather than player watching football. Much better.
Yeah, we'll see. Lots of changes in the CFL next year, so who knows what's going to go on with all of this. But I think this may be my last year for fantasy. It's like I said to you last week, MJ, you make the commitment for the year, you stick to it. Anyway, on from there, the games of the week. It was a interesting week. Is that a good way to describe it? BC had a third-string quarterback going into Winnipeg, which has traditionally been a hard place to win, and they won 35-19. Now, I'll let you guys talk about this a bit, but a couple of things that I said is watching the game, it occurred to me at one point, this must have been what football was like before they legalized the forward pass. Because it was just, I think Salter had 9 completions, and I don't know what Brown and Eldrisma had, but it was not pretty. There was 3 minutes and 30 seconds left in the first half. So almost the entire first and second quarters played before Condell called a play that allowed for a forward pass. He obviously either decided to listen to Brady or got his nose out of joint over Brady and said, "You want to run the ball? Okay, we're going to run the damn ball." And that's all they did for the first half of the game. And it worked real good between the 20s. And then it didn't work. And rather than going for third and short a few times, they kicked the field goals going, well, they've got a backup quarterback. They've got a third string in. All we have to do is not make any mistakes. Didn't work well. End of the first half, Salter started running and hadn't been doing much anyway from there. It started running. Strangely enough, Winnipeg defense made no halftime adjustments. They came out and let him do the same thing through most of the third quarter. And then in the fourth quarter, they tried to adjust and widened their ends and started making sure they weren't going to let him get outside. And that just opened it up for Horvath to run inside. In the fourth quarter alone, he had, I think it was 160 some yards, 2 long touchdown runs. There was one that it reminded me of way, way, way back in the day when I used to watch NFL football. Steve McNair from the Titans got flushed out of the pocket and rolled off to the left, and a linebacker came flying in after him, and he basically stiff-armed him and tossed the linebacker about 5 yards out of the way and made his pass. Well, Horvath did pretty much the same thing to Evan Holm of the Bombers. One of his long runs, Holm came in trying to make a a tackle, and he literally just threw him out of the way like a rag doll. And in the end, that was it. They just overran Winnipeg. I think they had 377 yards total rushing, a franchise record. How about you, MJ? Did you see this one? What did you think of it?
This is not a serious football team. This is not a serious football team.
You have to clarify which one you're talking about here.
Winnipeg. Winnipeg is not a serious football team.
Just to be sure.
I'm pretty sure Condell and Brady are fighting at practice. I think they're fighting in the locker room. Brady's starting to make comments in the media. And I think you're right. I think Condell was like, fine, you do it. And let him run it. And then was like, now he's going to be like, see, we lost. So put up or shut up, right? Like it was, don't even know how to describe what happened. Salter just like came in there and put on a little Casey Printers show, huh? Like he was throwing around. He was, my favorite Salter moment is when he was skipping at the end. He was just skipping around the field, and I don't blame him. He was just having the best day of his life. Hatcher threw him a 2-point conversion pass. Like they were running. It felt like they didn't do anything and did everything. And Winnipeg had to know that they were running. It was not a secret. And the only bright spot is like, again, Willie Jefferson. I was like, oh, Willie's going to make this cute, like rookie quarterback cry. Like it's going to happen. And he did for a little while. And then, but if your defense is running around all night after someone's sprinting, you can't keep up after a while. I don't know. Drew Brown looks like he hurt his back. I was like, oh, that looks like an L4, L5 disc situation there. Because he heard it and then he kept playing and then he got hit again and it looked not great. And then El Grisma came in and looked just as bad. And remember how we were all like, what are they going to do? They have 4 quarterbacks in that team. Oh, they have so many quarterbacks. Maybe they can get rid of some quarterbacks. Oh, so many quarterbacks. And now they have no quarterbacks. Like, I don't know what they're going to do. I think Zach's coming off that 6 game. You said he wasn't, but I think he might be, because if Brown is at all hurt, El Grisma did not look great. And yeah, BC came out with a win that they should not have won, and that gave them hope because Nathan's back to first team reps and they've kind of weathered that storm. I don't know is it Mike O'Shea who's calling for these conservative, like little chip shotty field goals, because you should have had your like pedal to the metal on this BC team, and you just like took these like very conservative choices. I know you would think these rules make coaches be more aggressive, and no, you cannot, and Mike O'Shea will not. And yeah, good job for Salter. I'm really happy. A good job for Horvath. Horvath proved he's not just for short yardage. I think what a great breakout game for.
Without him, I would have lost badly. Like I said, it's not supposed to talk fantasy, but I would have lost real bad without him. I think he was 37.1 points. So, yeah. Thank you, Xander. How about you, GT? What were your thoughts?
Well, I turned it on just as BC scored that first half touchdown late in the half, and I heard about what had happened, and I was like, this doesn't make any sense. This just does not make any sense. And then in the second half, it was like, okay, the Winnipeg adjustments, halftime adjustments, as MJ keeps calling them. And it looked like they were going to make some, and it looked like it was going to work. It looked like, okay. But then they just stalled out again. They were not prepared or not able to stop the run, because or to stop him running around. It was obviously that's what he was going to do. And yet somehow they weren't able to either control one or the other. But between the two of them, it reminded me of those couple of games last year from Edmonton when they had Trey Ford and Rankin and Leak all running amok, and you couldn't do anything about it. That's almost what it looked like. I mean, I understand them being slightly unprepared for a guy you had no tape on other than college, etc. But by halftime, you have tape. Certainly by 3/4 time, and the fourth quarter was when BC really opened it up. So, Winnipeg look in pretty rough shape right now. They look in pretty rough shape. We will see who they have behind center this week, or do they have the bye? No, they have the bye this week, right? So that's a bit of a saving grace. It gives them a week to get somebody back healthy, or a week to give El Grisma at least a few first team reps, because the one thing we can say, as bad as he looked, and he looked bad, he was not prepared to go into that game. That was obvious. And he had not seen the ball. That was also obvious. Anyways, the bye week might help them. But yeah, they're kind of messy. There's no doubt about it. They're kind of messy.
Yes. And they do have 4 wins, but Ottawa, Toronto, they squeaked one out over Calgary early in the season when Calgary still had basically the bare bones of a defensive line there. And who else did they beat? Oh, Hamilton after knocking Bo out. So it's not like they've had convincing wins.
If Ottawa had caught one of those interceptions, that would have out of the 4, it would have changed that game around. So yeah, you're right. Their record flatters them, not the other way around. You know,
that there were a couple of things. There was a moment that I thought you would appreciate, MJ, that it wasn't even TSN doing their normal sort of in-your-face stuff, taking a shot of somebody at the wrong time, but there was a point where BC took a delay of game because they were punting and only 11 players went out. And after the penalty was called, the shot was of Buck Pierce on the sidelines, the head coach. What does he think about this? And it was basically him turning a little bit and saying something to McKnight, the special teams coach. But McKnight's look was everything you would expect it to be from his resume as an ex-O lineman, tough special teams coach. You could not have had a better look of disgust and someone's going to pay.
Someone's running sprints after the game.
Yes. Yeah, there's some gut busters happen.
Yeah.
That's right. Good thing it's flat all the way home.
Yeah. And then the other one was, I can't even remember who the sideline reporter was for TSN in the game, but at one point they had him talking a little bit about the relationship between Brown and Collaros, and quoting Brown as saying, the best thing about Zach, even if he's not on the field, when we're playing, when things are out there, no matter whether it's going good or bad or whatever, he seems to know exactly what to say to me to keep me on pace and everything, which was good. And then they cut over to a shot of Zach on the sidelines, and he's standing there shuffling through basically some index cards, and it looks like almost like he's checking his notes. Okay, what do I say in this case? Oh, okay, here it is. Don't let that get to you, kid. My mind is strange, but that's what occurred to me.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Is Ryan right?
He's probably right on several things.
Was he right about Drew Brown? They weren't letting Drew throw. He was not throwing anything past 10 yards, right? Like,
No, he wasn't, but Condell wasn't letting him. Like I said, there wasn't for the first almost half a.
It reminds me of when they hired Tommy Condell and Speedy B posted on that post and was like, I hope you have a Speedy B in the backfield to run all these like hitch passes.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And we're like, yeah, that's exactly what happened.
And yet Dembski is that guy, and they don't use him either. They're not using Dembski often enough. Like, how often are you hearing his name these days? Not nearly enough.
No, not nearly enough. Like I don't even have him like on the stats sheet because it was so low.
There's problems. There's a lot of problems, and yeah.
I'm surprised the defensive coordinator from there had a job today.
Yeah.
Would you not be firing someone after they ran 377 yards on you?
Maybe the defensive coordinator needs to be doing some wind sprints and gut busters. I don't know. Yeah, not good. Oh, well, it happened. And we'll see what happens this week, who plays for BC. We'll go on to the Ottawa-Montreal game, but I will say right at the start of the pregame to the Ottawa-Montreal game, they were talking about the night before, and I believe it was Lapo who said, anyone who tells you they picked BC to win that game last night is lying. So over to you, MJ.
Well, the BC Lions cut in a JC from 3 down, picked them too. And I was like, oh, you should have cut me in picking them too, because I also did. But then he also picked Ottawa, and so did I. So, I mean, it's all a wash, really.
There we go. Yes, that was Mr. Abbott, wasn't it? But yeah, I thought you should have a chance to respond, because you were on the record ahead of time.
Well, and I said that it was going to be Salter versus Brown. Yeah. And right? Like, and I said last week that Winnipeg was messy, and everyone's like, well, maybe. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
yes, they are. But I don't understand. I don't understand why anyone thought Tommy Kendall was a good hire, but I say this every week, but it continues to be true.
Well, I just wanted to give you your chance to do your little happy dance.
Yes, my one like underdog correct pick this season. Good job, me.
Okay. But speaking of the game, Montreal 34 at Ottawa 13. And again, story of the game, Ottawa was inside the Montreal 10-yard line 4 times. I don't remember if they kicked field goals on any of them, but none of them were touchdowns. So again, Mayer, as I said a couple of times this season, 51% of the time looks like a good starting quarterback. He made some nice throws. He got things moving some, but they just cannot finish it off. Not at all. In the end, that was their downfall. If you score, even on a couple of those 4, you're within a 1-score game. But if you keep going down there and just things go wrong and wrong and wrong, like I said last week, Trey Ford, it's not just all on Mayer. The team is making stupid mistakes. They look like an 0-17. How did you feel about it, GT?
Well, I agree with you, except I think that, again, I thought it was Mayer's best game of the year. He moved the ball. He threw with some authority. He threw relatively mid to long well. And then I thought it was just bad play calling when they got down into those situations. Again, I've often said their biggest weakness is their offensive line. They're just not mean enough. They're just not tough enough on that offensive line to make those goal line stands and or to push people over to get them into those situations. But I thought those were some bad calls. And if they had a score that you said, old man, that they would have been a 1-score game, no, they would have been winning, because that game was close until the last, till late before Montreal finally blew it open. That score kind of flatters Montreal, to be honest. Ottawa is just like, they're a mess. They are a mess, and they need to start winning. And until they start winning, they're going to continue to lose. It's a silly thing to say, but that is basically where they're at. Again, it's Edmonton from 2 years ago, and that's until they get to Edmonton from last year and get at least on the right path, they're going to continue to look like this, and they're going to continue to go through coaches and players and everything else, and maybe even a head coach and general manager. Until they finally get something figured out. And you might not even know who it's going to be. There is a nucleus of players there that are very good. And then there's a bunch of guys that are really good players, but somehow aren't ever going to work in that system.
Well, speaking of the head coach thing, it's awful hard probably for the next year or 2 to do anything about Dinwiddie because of the coaching cap. But if they're going to, perhaps the bombshell of the weekend was in the pregame show, they were talking to Smiling Hank Burris, who said he's been sticking down in the States with his coaching work while his son's in high school, because his son's a kicker that's doing very well and he's working with him, but that his son is graduating high school this year and Hank is now ready to come back to the CFL. So who knows? Maybe the Ottawa Red Blacks will be coached next year by Smiling Hank.
They can't afford
Could
to.
be. Any thoughts you've got from the game, MJ? Or
well, first
if
of all,
you want
they
Hank
won't
back.
They can't afford to hire him next year, so it doesn't matter. I don't know who plays this terrible off the bye. I'm not sure I've seen a worse team off the bye. And Henry Burris was there. You played like this in front of Henry Burris. And it was like they had a big celebration with a bunch of old players and stuff there, and Henry was there, and this is how you played. Short yardage continues to be a complete and utter disaster.
You think?
I don't understand how it can still be so bad. It's week 8. I truly don't get it.
Yeah. It's not like they're failing at one attempt and just keep trying it. It's not like, okay, we're going to keep running that quarterback sneak until we get it right. They are trying every different way you could possibly think of getting a yard when they need it, and failing at every one of them.
So in baseball, you would call this the yips. You have short yardage yips. You have goal line yips. And there's nothing you can really do about it except for keep trying.
Yeah.
the Alouettes, so Justin Hardy basically got murdered on the field, and it was an objectionable conduct call. And then the Alouettes challenged it, and I was like, you are joking. You are challenging this call? I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, look at this replay. He's being murdered. And Gino Lewis got called in on an illegal block and just negated it. And
Yeah.
that's how it goes when your team's not playing well and you got the yips.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and
I'm sorry, MJ, if I can jump in, I thought that was one of the moments of the weekend that I enjoyed the most because coaches make such stupid challenges all the time. And yeah, Hardy made the catch, got hit hard, fumbled the ball, or might have fumbled, but it turns out he was down by contact. Because it's a potential turnover, they automatically review it. And then Dinwiddie comes out and throws the challenge flag. And my immediate thought is it's another one of these idiot coaches saying, look at it again, and they're going to lose a challenge. But no, you're right. He had something completely different. He was challenging a downfield blocking, which took that 10-yard gain that Hardy got at that point and turned it into a 10-yard loss, 2nd and 20. I thought that was a brilliant challenge.
yeah, good job.
Anyway,
Jason.
go ahead.
Yeah, the Alouettes, boy, they only needed Alex Allen only threw to 4 receivers and these. That's all he needed. That's all he needed for his 420 yards. And somebody on Blue Sky was commenting about how much they hate him because he's such a little cocky SOB. And I was like, yeah, you're right. He is on the field. He is the worst. When he's playing your team, it is the worst to have him playing because he is beaking at your bench. He's beaking at your fans. He's just just being a jerk all over. And every player on that ball for him, and they love him. And if he's on your team, you love him too. Yeah. And my last note is that Lewis Ward came back and put that in your pipe and smoke it, Ryan. I went 2 for 2 on my field goals.
And if you don't want Davis Alexander to be acting cocky towards your team,
Shut him
don't
down.
give him the opportunity.
You got to shut him down because when he is shut down, they are awful. And very, very beatable. If he gets a little groove and he's beaking and mouthing and running around, you're done. Good night.
This may be a sign of the fact that I'm mellowing with old age. Who knows? But this is the exact behavior that a decade ago made me absolutely livid at Bo Levi. And now I'm just enjoying it with Alexander. Mind you, I'm enjoying it, or I was enjoying it with Bo this year too before he got hurt, because he had got a lot of that swagger back himself with his a lot of his little postings post-game and whatnot.
It's fun.
Yes, I want to see more players doing that. All right. So let's talk then Calgary and Hamilton. And to me, there was an obvious difference in this game. Calgary brought an offense and Hamilton didn't, unfortunately. Calgary did what Calgary's doing. They have very quietly climbed into a spot where people have stopped talking about the top 3 teams in the league and started talking about the top 4. They deserve it. They didn't play mistake-free football, but they played good, solid football, and they just kept doing what they do consistently. And Hamilton could not figure out an offense that would work against them, whether it was Trey Ford or after he fumbled in the end of the first quarter, towards the end of the half, they put Harrison Frost in. Didn't get a whole lot better from there. They were just unfortunately outmatched, I thought. How about you, GT?
Well, couple little things about this game. First of all, it was the first game I was able to take my grandchildren to.
Good. Hey, got to build that family stuff.
They are both now Cat fans because he was a Tiger Cat fan. He had decided last year, and she had not made her decision until earlier. And then during the game, she confirmed that she is now a Tiger Cat fan. So that was terrific. It was a smoking hot day. It was 28, feeling like 35. Sun through the cloud and the humidity, which made it even worse. And we were just sweating. But the most important thing about the game was not only did I get to take those 2 to the game for the first time, we also got to be on the field with the flag. We got to be flag holders. So that was tremendous because that's the first time I've ever had the opportunity to do that in any of the stadiums I've been to, in any of the games I've been to. So I was more excited than they were, of course.
Hey, gotta like it. exploit them cute kids.
Absolutely. Nothing like two
Absolutely.
children. Yeah. So they so anyways, they had a great time, and and as I said to my grandson, I said, "Look, it's the perfect day. It's beautiful. It's sunny. You're at the Tiger Cats. You got to run at the flag. You got everything. Your team's going to lose. It's going to be the perfect day." And he just looked at me.
Well,
so anyway, the game
teaching them
itself.
that Tie Cat culture early.
Oh, did they learn the chant? Did they learn
Oh, absolutely. They had the Oscar Wee Wee down pat. They had it down. They knew it. So, yeah, they were waiting for Pigskin Pete to come over so they could join in. So the game itself, Calgary started off tremendously and then went to sleep. Then they finished the half tremendously, came out of the third quarter, started tremendously, went to sleep, and then finished the game tremendously. But had really big lulls in between. And midway through the second quarter, I was like, we're letting Hamilton hang around. There's no reason for Hamilton to be in this game, but they're only down 4 points. And that's not a good sign. Just get a game that could slip away, because I will say this, Hamilton's got a very good defense. And they did their job. And they really put Mill, until late in the game. He was not able to rip off any big ones at all. They had him bottled up entirely. McAllister got the one decent run himself. But other than that, Hamilton's defense did a very good job against the run. That first pass to Brissett was just obviously a broken coverage, but that was so beautiful to watch. It was like, I went crazy. The guys around me were,
Yeah.
Anyways, I was giving them grief. Why not? But then they just stopped. They didn't do anything else until like 2 or 3 minutes left in the half. And the same thing in the second half until late in the game in the fourth quarter. I think that score kind of flatters Calgary. Hamilton got a couple of, touchdowns that were like, yeah, whatever.
I mean, Frost threw to Moncrief.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Just threw it
perfect.
right. So, I mean, there was a few things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, there was definitely that. There was definitely some of that going on. I thought it was a very good game, but it wasn't a game where I felt there weren't things to fix. There was quite a few things to fix coming out of that game. So,
yeah,
I thought it was very cute. They caught it on the television that McAllister, after his touchdown, was running off apologizing to the Hamilton fans.
Yeah.
I'm back. I'm sorry. I didn't.
Oh, it's me. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I did think, just in your honor, MJ, that the TSN shady moment of shady moments was coming out of half and just like a full minute of Trey Ford standing on the sideline. Like, it was like not even a brief glance, just like, no, let's focus on Trey just standing on the sideline, perhaps watch his chance slip away, because that's what it felt. That's what it felt. Yeah, this could be his chance slipping away.
They kind of got the feeling that was probably the last time he was on the field.
Yeah.
After the game, I do have things to say, but after the game, VA went over and hugged him, and they actually talked for quite a bit. And I'm like, oh, Trey, just get on the team bus. Get on that Stampeder team bus and just go back with VA and Jarius Jackson.
Yeah. Just sneak into someone's suitcase,
Yeah, just they won't even notice you. Just sit in the back. You'll be okay. This is the thing. He was trying to do too much. So Trey had that hurdle. He tried to hurdle someone. Yeah. And then he got the ball knocked out and fumbled, and then he picked it up and ran. And then after that, he got benched. Actually, my sister texted me. She's like, I'm sorry, did Trey just try to hurdle someone, and that's why he's benched? I'm like, yes. My dad was camping and called me and saw that Frost was in, was like, what's happening? Did Trey get hurt? I'm like, no, he got benched. And as much as I was upset about it, I'm always the one that's like, if they're not playing well, they should be sat down. And I'm like, well, you weren't playing well. And Scott Milanovich's number one rule is ball security. He has benched Bo over ball security. Don't think he won't bench you. He did let Harrison Frost throw 2 very bad interceptions and did not bench Frost.
Wow, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Go to Jake Goodall again? Yeah.
Who knows what he'll do this week for a starting quarterback? Yeah. But if he puts Frost back in there starting this week after those 2, then that tells me the whole narrative about, he doesn't put up with turnovers is just bullshit. It tells me that he's not, doesn't want to give Trey a chance. Yeah. We'll see. I hope I'm wrong. I hope he starts Trey, because I think he gives them their best chance.
I would put money down on it's Harrison Frost.
Yeah, I think you're
I would
probably
put money
right, but it also tells me a
think
lot. There's a lot more in that statement. Yeah.
they
Yeah.
need to
Go
run
ahead.
Jeremiah Mazzoli, Dane Evans quarterback system till Bo is back with Frost and Ford. That is what you should do to weather
Yeah,
this storm.
there is something to that. They don't do it, though. There's this narrative that you have to give a quarterback the reins and he has to know it's his team. And I don't know that I buy into that. Back in the day, when Austin was quarterbacking for the Riders, they also had Burgess. And for a while there, it was the kind of a thing that, well, which one is it? Because they're both good. My stance the whole time was you start Burgess in every game. And then as soon as he throws an interception, you pull him. And, oh, you can't do that. You'll destroy his confidence. I don't care. Once he threw an interception, he threw 4. But until that happened, his confidence was huge and he was putting up big leads. So I said, put him in. He throws one, you pull him out, you put Austin in to finish the game, and then you go back and you to Burgess and you say, and you're starting next week.
So
you run a system like that. But
here's the difference here.
I could be wrong. I don't get paid to coach.
These are neither your bona fide starter. They're
Yeah.
not they're your 2 backups till Bo's back, and everyone is of the understanding of that. So I don't understand why you're not just running play packages for both of them. Anyway, I am not the Ticats head coach. A few other notes. Trey Ford got hit in the head on a slide and there was no call. So I'm not quite sure what the penalties are this year for quarterback sliding. And again, I am of the opinion that there is a level of quarterback eliteness that works its way from top to bottom, and Trey is not on very high on that list. And you know what? Neither's VA, but I've already talked about that. Jude McCatnery, welcome to Hamilton. He missed a kick that he really should have had.
Yeah.
And I was like,
That was
welcome to kicking in Hamilton. The wind swirls there a little tricky. And I think that was his first time kicking in Hamilton. So he will know next time. Jamal Peters had VA intercepted twice.
Yeah.
Once he got the ball ripped out of his hand. The second time he had that interception, I was like, that's it. VA's interception. He's got it. And then Fox had hit VA in the helmet with his helmet and negated that interception.
And I did not see that because I had taken that moment to excuse myself from the stand. And then I heard it in the thing and I was, and then I heard penalty and I went, that's against them. And right away, it continues because when he threw that touchdown to Brissett, I wasn't jumping up and down and yelling touchdown. I was jumping up and yelling up and down 24. And only 2 people knew what I meant.
Wheatfall had that contested catch that was really what a crazy catch that was too. The DB couldn't have played that any better, but so there was some nice things there. The Ticats returners and one return ran into each other, and that sums up the game 5 for me.
I've seen some people on social media going, well, VA any further on the record shouldn't count because he was intercepted. A penalty shouldn't negate that. Well, I haven't gone back and looked at this, but I'm pretty damn sure that if you looked at the other people that he surpassed for the record and that are up there, they probably had 1 or 2 called back during their runs as well because it's part of football. So it just happens.
Don't hit people in the helmet with your helmet.
The last thing that I will do, I probably don't need to be, well, not an apologist, but a defender of Stavros Katsantonis, but I am really, really annoyed at how many people are blasting him this week for the Brissett touchdown. Oh, what a busted coverage. He jumped on a short pass and he just let himself get run right by. Yes, he did, because Hamilton was on a full blitz. And you got to expect the balls coming out fast. So he made the right play. He came downhill at a pass that didn't happen, and then he couldn't make the hit, and Brissett got open. Still wasn't a bad play on his part. If there's anything, it was the fault of the D-line and the blitzers not getting to VA in time, giving him enough time to make a 30-yard pass in a blitz situation. So I don't think that was a busted coverage. Yeah.
Brissett's made quite a few DBs look silly this year.
Yes, he did. I'm not saying no credit to Brissett. It was a great route to get open like that. But I'm just saying I don't think it's fair to burn Katsantonis saying he made a terrible decision. I think he made a good decision and got beat by a better play.
There were worse decisions made that game. Much,
There were.
much worse.
Yes. All right.
Maybe Henry Burris will come and coach the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
It's a possibility, too. I'm not
Would
sure
not
how
be
long
sad.
Scott's contract runs. Did they extend him? I don't recall.
I don't care. I've disassociated from that information.
He's probably closer to the end of his contract than Dinwiddie is.
Yes, that I know.
Mind
And
you, if
Michael
Poe
Shea.
hadn't got hurt, we probably wouldn't be complaining about Scott so much because they'd probably be somewhere up there with
Yes,
Montreal,
what a
too.
great
So,
coach when you can only coach one type of quarterback, one specific quarterback, just one. So great. All right.
yes, I would rant about that more, but I'd be a broken record. I've been saying that for a few weeks now. So, Saskatchewan at Edmonton. 2 hours of football. What was it? 67 minutes of lightning delay. And in essence, we had a 62-62 tie.
Yes.
They each won one game. They both scored 62 points. It was another dogfight. It looked sloppier than the one a week ago in Saskatchewan. But it was just two very good teams playing each other, I thought. And again, it's the best home-and-home series I've seen in quite a while. And I really, really hope the season plays out so that when their third game now, when the deciding game of their series in the last week of the season is there, I hope that's for first place. You couldn't ask for a better scenario. Few things that we could talk about, but basically, yeah, it was just scrappy. And this time, Saskatchewan managed to pull off the win. I didn't think they looked great in it. Their offense, to me, looked like they couldn't figure out the Edmonton defense through a good chunk of it, like they were struggling bad. Both teams took bad penalties. I've seen complaining about some of the penalties that Edmonton took late in the game when Saskatchewan was trying to run out the clock, but Saskatchewan also took a couple of really stupid roughing the passer penalties. And I don't mean that stupid in that they shouldn't have been called. I mean that stupid in that they were a fully justified call, and it was just a dumb move by the players in question. What did you see, MJ?
Well, the stupidest penalty award of the night goes to Taylor of the Elks, who had a one misconduct for contacting an official and a second misconduct disqualification for embellishment.
Yeah.
In the first quarter. He was a men's FIFA player.
Yeah.
That made the
It should have. It was ridiculous. It was
embarrassing.
It was totally ridiculous.
How embarrassing!
Like I was rolling around as much as he was. Only mine was with laughter.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just, way to put your team in a bad spot in the first quarter. Yeah. Then there was Elks also took a too many men penalty, and I was like, I'm sorry, I think you made Riders, but no, it was Elks. That's a little Rider joke for you.
At an important time because the Riders had fumbled on that play on the goal line.
Yeah.
So a little reprieve.
Conley, and then another Instagram worthy thing that's making the rounds is Conley's backwards hurdle.
Yeah.
Yes.
That
if you haven't seen that,
one of the plays of the year.
Look at it.
It was beautifully executed. Beautifully executed. It probably can never be repeated, but fantastic.
I posted after that. I scored Conley 9.8 for his single axle middle run and got a few laughs in it and got a lecture from the goddess on that is not an axle jump. That was not even close to it. It could have been this kind of jump. It could have been that kind of jump, but it's not an axle. You know?
She is correct. She is correct.
I know
she's the Russian judge in the house.
Yeah. Oh yeah. She knows her figure skating stuff.
We want to talk figure skating culture. And also, I'll let you guys talk because I was I didn't really take a lot of notes in this game. I was just enjoying it. But it was really nice to have the upper deck open. That was really nice. We were at the Stingers game on the Friday night, and they were playing the Saskatoon Mamba, and there was a lot of people from Saskatchewan at the game. So nice for them because they got to go to see their team play basketball and then go to football the next day. So that worked out really well. So it was nice to have some extra people in the Stingers. They were sitting behind me though, and all around me. I'm not sure how much I enjoyed that personally, but it was nice for them. If you were surprised by the thunderstorms in Edmonton, joke's on you. This has been our entire summer. So I hope you brought a little card game to play or something, because you should not have been surprised. There was a thunderstorm, rain, like lightning delay. And Calgary would like a little word about who's going to be top in the West, because I think Edmonton probably should have won this game. They took too many stupid penalties. I think Calgary's going to be right up there with them, if not ahead of a couple of these teams if they keep playing the way they do.
Yeah, well, we talked last week about if Edmonton won that game, there was very little chance of Saskatchewan, barring something catastrophic like an injury. All things considered, if Edmonton had won that game, there was very little chance of Saskatchewan overtaking them for first place in the season. But we also said there's the Calgary home and home in Labor Day and the rematch after that. That could make a big difference in who ends up at the top of the West Division.
Also, Jeremy O'Day, if you're listening, Dean Faithful's season wraps up here in the next week or two in Paris. So maybe you want to give him a call.
Yeah, I hope so, because that was ugly. That was one of the ugliest kicks I've ever seen. That one he missed.
The Elks also moved up a global kicker to their retired list. So there's two options.
Okay, there we go then. Yeah, because at this point, Saskatchewan is certainly taking the foot out of football. I don't know. Any other thoughts on that, GT?
No, it was again. I thought it was a really good game to watch. I enjoyed. I thought again both teams showed that they are contend. I don't think that either team showed that they're dominant. I didn't think the week before either team showed that they were dominant. One team won, the other team could have just as easily. I agree with you guys. I didn't hear that portion, but I agree with you guys 100% that the Labor Day all four teams are going to be, really going to need that to come out of that. At least with if you lose both games, any one of the four teams, including Winnipeg, you're done. Like that's the first, second, or out of the playoffs for any one, 3 or 4 teams. If Calgary is able to take 2 from Edmonton, they're right in the thick of it for first place. If Saskatchewan takes 2 from Winnipeg, they're the same. And if Edmonton takes 2 from Calgary, they've got it locked up pretty much. So I think that weekend's going to be a very fun one for those 3.
Absolutely. Both teams took bad penalties. Saskatchewan had 7 for 80 yards and Edmonton had 10 for 92 yards. So there was nerves out there. There was some stuff that people pushing a little too hard. And Cody said that in his post-game interview. He said he thought that some of the young players were playing a little tight, and that he was trying to tell them it's not the playoffs. It doesn't matter that much in the end. We're still back next week. We can deal with this. But that was most of it. Although the one thing that I will say is the radio broadcast, CKRM picked Mike Rose as the defensive player of the game. And Mike Rose has been around this game for a long time, and he's a very good player. So I'm sure it's not the first time he's had a radio interview, but it sounded like it. It was such an incredible interview. It wasn't guarded at all. It was just pure joy. And not even joy at the win, but just joy at playing in that kind of a football environment and being able to do what he was able to do. I was smiling the whole way through it. So I'm going to throw in the show notes, if anybody cares, a link to the podcast version of that post-game show. Hit about the 10-minute mark and just take a couple of minutes to listen to the interview with Mike Rose. It's well worth your time. And I think that's about all there is to say on the games. Again, I said it last week. I think this week sort of echoes it. Well, that was fun, but did we learn anything? Because I don't think so. So, given that, guess who's got the unenviable job of putting out the GT Barnum official CFL Outsiders Power Rankings?
All right. I did not write down last week's. I simply sent them to you guys and you posted them. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. But I have no recollection of what I did. And I did not write anything down from this week because, as I said, I am totally unprepared. So these are completely off the top. So even more so. I am going to put Edmonton back at number 1. I'm going to put Montreal at 2, Saskatchewan at 3, Calgary at 4. And then after that, who knows? Calgary at 5. I'm going to put Toronto at 5, BC at 6. And that's a big jump from last week, I know, but they won and they're getting Nathan back. So that's going to put them at 6. Ottawa at 9th. And take your pick between Hamilton and Winnipeg where you want to put them, 7 or 8. Because they're
Hamilton 7.
I was just going to say, given who's recording these, I know where
I am recording it.
Yeah, so there you go. Because it's those teams are just in so much flux and so much is happening around them that you just can't tell, where they are going at this stage and where they deserve to be at this stage based on their personnel more than anything.
Thank you very much for that. And to you fans, viewers, listeners out there, I hope you realize you've been given a unique peek behind the curtain at the intense analytical process that goes into determining the GT Barnum official CFL power rankings.
That's right. That's right. It takes mere seconds to make these decisions. It's, on the fly. You're calling them, you're in a hurry up offense right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All righty. Okay, well, before we take our picks for the week, my injury reports that I do every week. Toronto, and again, this is Tuesday practice, so 2-3 days for some teams, 1 for some, and nothing for Calgary yet. I believe they're only practicing 1 day this week because they're staying out east.
Calgary put out a injury report with no injuries today.
Oh, did they?
Again, 2 days in a row, no injury. Yes. They didn't even get an injury from practice.
Yes. So Toronto, Goss at linebacker and Haggerty did not participate. Lemon was limited in a non-injury related capacity. I know people miss practices, did not participate because they've got, family stuff going on or whatever. But why are you limited in a non-football related stuff? I'm a vet and I didn't feel like going full speed this time. I don't know.
Well, maybe maybe he started out and then he was, chucking on the sidelines or something and had to be taken away. That's non-injury related if you get the stomach flu halfway through a practice.
Yeah.
Could well be. Yes. Yeah, it reminds me of the fact that Ottawa last week also didn't have McLeod Bethel Thompson because he had a family commitment that went previous to his signing, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that's fair, though. They called him last second. I don't like him, but to be fair, they called him at a very last second and basically begged him to come up there. So he probably was like, I have a wedding to go to. So
yeah. I'm not saying against him. I'm just saying it's a weird situation. We're struggling big time. Here's somebody who can maybe help us. Will you come and help us? Well, okay, but I'm available these days. Anyway, Ottawa, Desjardins on the offensive line did not participate. Saskatchewan starting to look a little beat up again, and the receiving core especially. Awachi at the fullback, Emilus, and KSB did not participate as receivers, and then Fry on the offensive line. He was out this last week. Johnson went in and did a reasonable job, I thought, but he still did not participate, and Campbell. So if he can't go, I don't know, maybe we see this year's rookie first-round draft choice. Be interesting, but they're up against Ottawa, so maybe that helps. And then the only other one was Sad, I can never pronounce his name properly, on the D-line was limited, but I think he's been out, so he might be coming back. Edmonton, DeBlanco did not participate, which is not good for them, but interestingly enough, Anderson was back to practicing full. So that may be a wash. Brinkman, Curtis, and Logan Jr. were all limited in practice. For Montreal, Kenton Arcou, Najee Murray and Sutton did not participate. So that's a bit of a hit to their back end on the defense.
Yeah.
Hamilton, Augustine did not participate, and Wooden was limited with a head injury. So I don't know if there may be some sort of concussion from that hit that took him out on the weekend. And BC Tavai did not participate, and looking at how he went off the field on the weekend, I wouldn't expect him back in a hurry. They also had 9 limited players. I found this interesting. This was about 3 hours ago that I was looking. I thought, okay, so where's Nathan? Is he a full participant in practice? Is he on the injured list? Where is he? And he wasn't listed on the injured list. So I thought, okay, good. But I would have expected to see him there. I hope nothing else went wrong. So I went to the roster, and for whatever reason, he wasn't on the active roster. So I started thinking, oh, crap. So I went down to the 1-game injured and the 6-game injured list, and he just wasn't there. He was not on the BC Lions documentation anywhere I could find today. So I'm assuming he's good, and it's just a lull between putting him back on the active roster or something.
He took first-team reps today. There was pictures of him all over the place, so he's there.
Okay, well, that's good to know.
Reps. Yeah.
Like I said, it was just one of those weird documentation anomalies. I looked like 4 times. I looked by number, I looked by position, I looked by name. He was just gone. So gremlins, like the AI slop, garbage in, garbage out. So that's it. Those are who's possibly hurt, possibly not. Looks like for Toronto that Kelly is going to be back. Nathan could be back with BC. We don't know who's going to be quarterbacking in Hamilton. So let's talk about game predictions. First one, Thursday night. Calgary, short week, stayed out in the East, and they're taking on Toronto. Let's let GT pick first.
I'm going to go with Calgary with low confidence.
Okay, MJ?
I am going to go Calgary with higher confidence than low confidence.
Yes,
I like it.
And I think I'll take it a sweep, and you know what? I'm going to complete the climb here and do it with high confidence. I think Toronto might score some points on Calgary. It's the Calgary defense is getting better and better week to week, but I think that they will probably also harass Kelly a bit, may pick him off some, and VA is playing so well with his receivers. They may put up 56 points again. Many may not, but I think they'll put up enough to win the game. I don't see that Toronto defense being able to seriously slow them down. And frankly, even with Kolinkowski going over to Toronto, I don't see the Toronto O-line doing very well against that Calgary defense of monstrosities. I think it could be a long night for Mr. Kelly. And if his neck isn't fully recovered, maybe it's a short night.
Mm-hmm.
Friday night, Ottawa going into Saskatchewan. Well-matched team. One is 0-7, one is 5-2.
Yeah.
I'll take Saskatchewan. MJ?
Anecdotally, the year the Ticats were 1-17, they got a win off the Riders by a field goal.
Yes.
That being said, it's okay. I talked up the Red Blacks last week because I was like, they're coming off the bell, do better. And sometimes when you fire a coach, you play better for a couple weeks. But I think the fire and brimstone's wearing pretty thin, pretty fast. I think it'll be Saskatchewan. But I'm hoping the Red Blacks can give them a run for their money and make it an entertaining game for all of us.
Well, I was rather glib and quick in my analysis going where I went with it. But the truth is, as GT has pointed out more than once, Saskatchewan traditionally has one game a year where they shouldn't be any problem winning it at home, and they lose it. And this has all the hallmarks of that. Because are they down Emilus? Are they down KSB? What are they putting out there for receivers? The last 4 or 5 games, they haven't looked as much like actually that's not true. They looked a lot like an offensive juggernaut in the Edmonton game a week ago, the first one in Saskatchewan. But the couple of games before that and this last game, they looked tentative on offense, so they could lose it, but I just don't see it. How about you, GT?
Yeah, I just don't see it. Just have, even with their offense in a bit of trouble and not playing great, their defense is just too good for Ottawa's offense, and so I can't see it. Yeah, I just can't see it. I've got Saskatchewan.
Okay.
This game, we're going to watch Tommy Stevens score like 100 short yard touchdowns and Ottawa fumbling from the 2-yard line like 100. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm waiting for the game where Saskatchewan just decides, you know what? We're on our own 10-yard line. We'll just put Stevens in and let him run it to the goal line in a series of about 12 plays. Shows though that when a team's ready for it, like if you looked at what Edmonton did against that, it did not work nearly as well against them as it had earlier. I forget who it was they were playing a couple of weeks back that they did that and it worked really well. Edmonton made it tougher for them. Speaking of Edmonton at Montreal. You're wearing an Alouette shirt. What are you going to wear next week, MJ?
Yeah. Well, you know what? This is a really good. This is the 2 top teams in the league.
Yep.
It should be a fantastic game, which probably means it'll be a garbage game. But I'm hoping it's a good game, and I think the Elks are going to be in trouble in Montreal. I think Montreal is going to.
Okay.
I can't. You know what? If they take any of those stupid penalties like they took against Saskatchewan, they're toast.
Okay, how about you, GT?
If Cody thought the young guys were having trouble at home against Saskatchewan, wait till they get into the loudness and everything that's going to happen down there. And for all those young guys that may never have been to Montreal before, it messes
there
with
is
you.
that element.
There's lots of stories of that. Every team has got its stories. So yeah, and it's for first place. And yeah, I'm taking Montreal here. I think that this is a close game. It's the 3rd week in a row that Edmonton has been in this pressure. You know, this is probably their toughest part of the schedule. I don't know who they have next week, but it's pretty tough for them through here. Yeah, I will take Montreal.
I agree with everything that you said there, except for your conclusion. I think that Montreal is an extremely good team, but they haven't really been challenged lately. It's been a while since they've had a team push them to the limit. And Edmonton, this is business as usual after the last 2 weeks. I'm becoming a big believer in the Elks, so put me down for the double E. And last one, it's Hamilton, so we'll let you go first again, MJ. Hamilton at BC.
All right. So if I were Buck Pierce, I would not start Nathan this week against that Hamilton defense if a shoulder is not fully healed. I would start Salter again. I think they're going to start Nathan, and I don't think they should. I don't know who is starting for the Ticats. I'm hoping it's Ford. He looked better than Frost. Maybe Frost will look better with first-team reps. Maybe. BC's got a kicking issue, too. If Hamilton stops them and they need a 50-yard field goal, it's not happening. Is Isaiah Wooden back? BC's special teams is really bad. You know what? I'm going to take the Ticats.
Going for the upset. All right.
Wait, well.
Yeah, I think that BC is probably going to end up being the favorite, especially if Nathan's back. I don't disagree with anything you said. I think BC will be the favorite.
Okay. So are you going with them then, or?
They have played well in the last 3 games or so. They have played. I thought their defense has come around and has been playing. I am going to go with BC. Yes, I am going to go with BC. I know they've got some areas of weakness still, and they're not clean by any means, but I think they've been playing better, and they still have the makings of a better team. And I think, like MJ, if they start Salter, then that kind of Hamilton's defense, as I said earlier, is very good. But I don't know if anybody can really get that guy under control, right? I will, and then you can always go to Nathan if you have. So maybe that's the trick, or maybe you do Nathan and Salter back and forth for a little while and really throw them off.
Okay. And for me, it is obviously the toughest decision of the week, and it's got a lot to do with, is it Nathan or Salter in there? Who starts out of the 3 choices for Hamilton? So lots of variables. But what I do know is that Hamilton defense is very good. And even with Nathan back in there, I don't see it being a 40, 50-point game by BC. I think their ceiling on the game with Nathan in is probably high 20s. If they get high 20s, they maybe win. But then again, Hamilton is a little bit of a running team, but they are, whoever they put in at quarterback, they want to throw a lot more. And BC's pass defense is a lot worse than its run defense. So the question is, can the Hamilton quarterbacks find the receivers who are going to be open? And I think they will enough. So I'm going with MJ. I'm going Hamilton.
All right.
All righty. That's it. Those are our brave choices. I guess we're almost done. Just saying our goodbyes. GT, any closing thoughts, etc.?
Sure. There's one more thing that I thought I should mention that happened over this weekend. As I said, I had my grandchildren here for the weekend. I also a CFL checkers have that is all the teams' logos, and you play CFL teams in checkers. So we went with at the playoffs as of now and did the entire run through the Grey, and between myself and my grandson. And I will tell you that in the end, it was Saskatchewan over Toronto in a close one, but Saskatchewan over Toronto to take the Grey Cup in this year's checkers tournament. And other than that, yes, that is my closing remarks, and you can find me very, very okay at GT Barnum on Blue Sky.
Yes. Damn. So the podcast team loses in the Grey Cup.
Yeah.
The hardship we put up with around here.
But they got there.
Yes. Yes. I was also thinking earlier, the nice thing you can say to your grandkids is congratulations on picking Hamilton as your team. You're young. There's a chance you'll see them win a Grey Cup. With that, I'll hand it over to MJ.
Honestly. Yes, this is a big sports weekend for me. The CBL playoffs are on Thursday. They play all at the same time. 4 games all at once. They're on YouTube, CBC Gem, and TSM+. I will be cheering for Edmonton. My husband and I's teams are playing each other this weekend. We are not friends that day for that 3 hours. And you can find us on Instagram, getting some good comments. Amar Doman liked one of our reels, so we are on the up. Mm-hmm. And you can find me over on Blue Sky being sad about the Blue Jays, posting about football and basketball sometimes at Sports and Plants.
Very nice. And for me, of course, you can find me at the CFL Outsiders on most of the platforms except Instagram, which will take you to MJ. But any of the others, just drop me a note or check it out and see what occurs to me during the week and whatnot. And yes, other than that, usual beg, please subscribe. It's nice to see the subscriber base increasing on a weekly basis. We like that. Drop a like, drop a rating, drop a review, do all those wonderful podcasting, social media stuff that helps us out. I'll also say real quick, as I mentioned earlier, if you follow fantasy at all, I'll drop Old Man Play CFL Weekly Fantasy Thursday afternoon once we've got the depth charts out. But other than that, I'm really curious about this weekend. We could have, there's one game that looks like it should be fantastic, and the other 3, I don't know, but those are some of the ones that are turning out to be real exciting stuff. Maybe not pretty stuff, but exciting stuff in the CFL. So, everybody, that's it. That's us for this week. Enjoy the CFL. Enjoy your weekend. And until next week, for MJ and GT, this is Old Man saying, get the hell off my lawn.